Everybody good? All right, well, welcome to the second edition of the Startup Summit. John and I are very excited for you all to be here. Let me just see a quick show of hands. How many people came last year to this event? So that's a pretty good amount of people. You know, when we had this event for the first time a year ago, we had a lot of hopes and dreams, but we certainly didn't know what to expect. But after last year's event, you know, we got a lot of great feedback from a lot of the audience members and all the speakers last year. Just had a lot of great things to say, and we knew we had to do it again. So we're very excited. We put together another just amazing set of speakers that are all from Birmingham, Alabama. These are all founders of some great companies that span a wide range of industries that are all based here. And we're just very excited to have them all today. We're pumped that you guys are here and have taken time out of your busy schedule to be here. Thank you very much. But let's go ahead and get things going. I want to introduce our master ceremonies. Jeremy Carter is going to be our MC again this year.
Welcome again to the second annual Startup Summit. Really glad to be here with you guys, and I'm really glad that we can call it the second annual. Tony mentioned last year when these guys were putting this together, they really had no idea if it was going to resonate, if people would sign up, if you guys would care at all about startups in Birmingham. And obviously from the response that we got, we do, which is fantastic. So we've got a really good event for you today, very similar to last year. And just out of curiosity, so we can kind of know who's in the room, how many of you currently, right now, are involved in a startup at some level? Significant portion. How many of you are maybe intending to, you're not quite there yet, working on your product, working on your idea, but you have an intention to be a part of the startup? So we've got a few here. What about vendors, support services, anyone who's in the accounting or legal that particularly pertains to startups? Got a few hands around. Awesome. Well, excellent. Well, thanks for being here. And I think the challenge this year is very similar to what it was with last year's event. You're going to hear some fantastic things up here on the stage. We've got some great speakers, and they're going to overload you with information, inspiration, stories, and more than you can imagine. So take notes, become a sponge, absorb all that you possibly can. And the second part of that is we've got a great room of people here. We've got people that you need to connect with, and there are opportunities that you can find of all levels. Maybe you are looking for a co-founder. Maybe you're looking to add people to your team. Maybe you're looking for help with an idea, whatever it may be. Take those opportunities. We've got speakers. We've also got breaks built in for you to be able to do that. So take advantage of that. You'll get the most out of today. I promise you. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We do have a lot that we're going to be doing today. So I'm going to introduce our first speaker. His name is Ceulemans. And he's going to talk to us about why Birmingham. This isn't Silicon Valley, right? Like this isn't a really long-established old ecosystem. It's a little younger, it's a little smaller, but it comes with some great advantages. So he's going to discuss those with us today. Stephen is the Vice President of Innovation and Technology for the Birmingham Business Alliance, an expert in technology commercialization, and Alabama's first economic development professional, solely dedicated to innovation and technology. Ceulemans' focus at the BBA is on supporting the growth of the innovation-driven economy in the Birmingham region. So please welcome Mr. Stephen Ceulemans.
Good morning, Birmingham, Startup Summit. I'm really happy to be the first speaker because I hope we're all still coming off of a coffee high and some sugar and the pastries in the lobby and whatnot. Tried one or two for myself, pretty tasty. So before we start, more than anything, I should make something clear. Unlike most of the other speakers that you're going to hear today, like I'm not a founder, I'm not even an entrepreneur. My success is solely tied to you guys. At the end of the day, more than anything, what I do in my job is take credit for all the great work you do. Most of my job is all about marketing Birmingham. It's about identifying innovation clusters. We'll talk a little bit about that. How those clusters tie to our entrepreneurial ecosystem and how that might present opportunities for people like you. But at the end of the day, I don't really make anything. beyond telling a great story about our community, about the opportunities in it, and hopefully present some of those opportunities to people like you to make you as successful as possible, as fast as possible. So let's get started here. There's really two things I wanted to talk to you about today, and the first one is Birmingham, and Birmingham is in Alabama. When I moved here a year and a half ago, I moved here from New Orleans, and not very far, but yeah, I looked it up, and Birmingham in the middle of Alabama. And more than anything, a lot of you, I imagine, are technology entrepreneurs, and technology is driven by research. At the end of the day, innovation can occur without research, but more than anything, I look at research as an enabler for innovation. So at the end of the day, if you don't have a lot of research as a community, it's very difficult to be successful as an innovation community. But when you look at Alabama, there's a map over there for the 2012 numbers from the Science and Engineering Indicators, and it really shows that as a community, as a state, we've got over $5 billion in R&D each year occurring in Alabama, which I'm not sure many of you knew. And it really puts us as in the top quartile. We're ranked 12th nationally for R&D expenditures as a percentage of state GDP. So there, we've got two things going on. First of all, our state is the largest in the country, and then we've got a good amount of R&D going on as well. So the combination of those two ranks us 12th nationally as a state. So if you're a technology entrepreneur, especially related to a field that is driven by research, there's a high likelihood that in some way, shape, or form, you're going to be better off in Birmingham and Alabama than in some of these other states. Talk a little bit, expand a little bit on that. So one of the major programs, and we'll talk a little bit later on as an opportunity for you guys, that supports technology commercialization is this federal program called the Small Business Innovation Research Program. It's exclusively reserved for small companies to help them support their R&D that can lead to the commercialization of either new products or the improvement of existing products. We'll talk a little bit more. But again, as a state, we're very competitive and we're very successful. So SBIR, as a state, we ranked 7th nationally across the country in terms of the amount of SBIR funding as a percentage of state GDP. And then more than anything, I think my job is all about jobs. The part of it that closely relates to me is technology innovation, how they can generate jobs for our community. And up until now, when I talk to people, the big industrial projects that Alabama is blessed with, each of you I'm sure know them, the Airbuses and the Mercedes and the Hondas, and the key things that people can recite, and especially economic developers, the folks that I hang out most with, are the numbers of jobs that those projects create and the amount of capital investment associated with it. But in technology and innovation, nobody has ever been able to come up with a number for Birmingham or a number for Alabama. What does it mean for our community? So I looked at some of the recent data just the other day, and we haven't published it yet. I really wanted to share it with you guys first. And if you look at the past 10 years for which data is available, 2000 to 2010, at all of the clusters or the industry clusters that have generated net jobs in Birmingham, and this is our metro area, there's really 14 industries that have resulted in more jobs than they lost over the past decade. And if you look at, let me click once more. At the total number of jobs, we're about close to 9,000 net new jobs created in 10 years. Almost half of those are technology-driven jobs if you look across those sectors. And that's hugely exciting. Knowing for a community like Birmingham that 1 out of 2 net new jobs created here in the last decade are technology-driven. Because one of the big facts associated with technology-driven jobs is that there's about 70 of them in total that are classified as technology-driven occupations. 69 out of those 70 jobs have an average income that is above the national average income. So they're not only they're really good jobs to have. And I look at some of the single largest job creator in our community over the past 10 years has been education and knowledge creation, and education is the biggest component of that, but UAB being a really large driver in our community. And again, that opens opportunities for people like you, I believe, especially if you're in the area of healthcare, if you're in the area of life sciences, biotechnology, medical devices. And then if you go down the list, information technology is number 4, Biopharmaceuticals and then medical devices rounds out the list at number 14. So really interesting diversity and of high-tech industries being represented there. And then one of the other things we do heavily at BBA is look at benchmarking. How does our community stack up against other communities? And again, in innovation, I thought it was important to try and compare and to see, well, how are we doing? And there's a sort of national Stats America. They have an innovation index, and it's multiple factors, and I think it's fairly balanced. And if you really look at the numbers, so the US benchmark is 100, and really if you look at the list of, and those are benchmark cities that across all kinds of industrial and other indicators we compare against. Birmingham isn't the highest on the list, but we're also by far not the lowest on the list neither. And I think most people will recognize Nashville as a very sort of innovation-centered, forward-looking community with a lot of good stuff going on. Well, we're within 1 percentage point of Nashville, ahead of Louisville, ahead of places like Memphis, which a lot of people I think will know as really interesting cities with a lot of sort of technology, innovation-driven industries. And I think for people like you, this is an opportunity because it says that as a market, we're sophisticated, there's a lot of opportunities out there, there's a lot of talent out there, but we're also not the highest on the list. And typically what pushes communities to the highest on the list is if the wages are really. So if there's a lot of competition for knowledge-based jobs and it pushes up the demand for skilled workers and for high wages, at the end of the day, that's one of the main drivers behind the innovation index going up. So essentially, if you, by being in the middle like we are, it says that there's enough talent available, that there's enough opportunity, but that there's also the competitive pressure is not the highest. So in essence, you can get high quality at I wouldn't say low prices, but at competitive prices. And I think that's sort of the range where communities tend to be really aligned. Next slide, capital, the lifeblood for any entrepreneur. If you look at it broadly as a community, what's sort of the type of capital available? I think we have a lot of things going for us. More than anything, sort of our historic strength as a banking and as a finance center. Still, we rank number 10th in the nation for banking. Over close to $2 billion of committed capital. And granted, not all of that capital will be available for startup companies. But beyond the stage of startup, I think the next step that most of you guys are thinking about is growth. And a lot of growth is financed by banks. And luckily, we have a lot of those available in our communities, a lot of capital that can be used towards business growth. So it's a real asset. Then if you look at true research capital, close to $500 million each year flows into our community in R&D expenditures. And that spans both industry and academia. Close to $200 million of that is National Institutes of Health funding. So again, it shows real sophistication, it shows a real opportunity, a substantial amount of resources flowing into our community. And in venture capital, for 2011, 23 million reported. Again, there's venture capital in our community. Could always have more. I think for one, we should probably report better the amount of capital that's being deployed, because that was one of the big challenges in coming up with this chart. But at least all of the categories are represented. And then really, we took it one step further and looked at the whole ecosystem. What are the major assets? What are the opportunities? Who are the stakeholders that are involved in technology and innovation in Birmingham? And here, I really didn't want you guys to read each and every cell. I'm pretty sure the slides will be shared and it's available on our website. But I think the really exciting thing is that if you look at our community, spanning between industry stakeholders, between online communities, between knowledge generators, supporters and advocates, that each of those investors, that each of those categories are represented. So highly likely, the stage that you're in, whether it's ideation, whether it's working on your initial business plan, whether it's trying to chase the initial milestone that's gonna help you launch your company, whether it's growing your company, it's fair to say that I think the resource that you need in some way, shape, or form is going to be available to you in Birmingham, between the 50 or so major stakeholders, major assets that are available. I think part of the challenge is helping you navigate and helping you find the resource that's most appropriate. And that's a lot of the time that I spend is to try and build networks, is to try and weave webs and help people identify the resources that can help make them successful. And then some of the major ones, UAB, we've talked about Southern Research Institute, which I think many of you know. They're a not-for-profit research center here in town that has the distinguished honor of having brought more cancer therapeutics to market than any other nonprofit. So in essence, they've got 7 drugs now that are available, that are saving lives, that they've developed, that they've been part of, more than any other nonprofit in the country like it. And then Innovation Depot, which I'm sure many of you know, technology incubator here in town, recognized best in class, 2011 Incubator of the Year, over $1 billion in economic impact, 90 companies housed there, a number of very successful graduates, and it can go on and on and on. So again, in terms of resources, not only do you have many available, but a lot of them are best in class and have been recognized as best in class. And then we took it one step further and really looked at innovation-driven industries. How many true technology-generating companies exist in Birmingham? And this is it's a fluid number. It's a living graph because we continuously identify more and continuously working on expanding this chart. But close to 750 technology-driven companies in Birmingham exist across some of these sectors. So highly likely, if you're looking for partners, whether it's in information technology, whether it's in R&D, across different sectors, whether it's in advanced manufacturing, medical devices, there's going to be somebody out there within our 7-county region that has done what you're trying to do before, or that could help you in some way, shape, or form. Next slide. So more and more we're starting to look at beyond the 750 total companies. How does that relate to specific clusters? In which defined industry sectors, industry areas, do we have advantages that no other community has? And can we be globally competitive? So one of those areas that we've recently spent a little bit of time in together with BioAlabama, the biotechnology industry for our state, is look at, well, life sciences and biotechnology. What do we really have? And how can we use that to our advantage? And here you see it again, 122 biotech companies in our metro area alone. These are numbers just for Birmingham, spanning research, testing, medical labs, drugs and pharmaceuticals, medical devices and equipment, bioscience-related distribution, agriculture, feedstock, and chemicals. So every category of biotechnology, as the industry organization defines it, are represented in our community. And really more than anything, why we're doing this is so that for the people like you that are active in biotechnology and that are active in this kind of sector, is that we can help you identify these are the resources that are most relevant to you, and they can be potential partners, they can be potential opportunities. And we'll talk a little bit, like the next part of the presentation is about tangible resources that I think would be really interesting for you to look at. And a lot of that is geared towards mentoring and coaching. And that's where, just sort of the back of the envelope, a lot of the mentors and coaches that I engage to help startup companies, they essentially come from some of these charts, and these ecosystem maps, and these industry clusters that we work on. And then another really interesting fact about our community is that the number of clinical trials being conducted, because research is just, it's a broad statement, but really a specific area that we're extraordinarily competitive in is in clinical trials. Close to 1,500 of those being conducted in Birmingham last year at all different stages of clinical development. And really what that means is that in Birmingham, people's lives are being saved that aren't being saved anywhere else in the world. Because a lot of these trials, or some of these trials at least, are first-in-man studies. Literally, somebody being treated with a new drug that works here in Birmingham that are not being treated anywhere else. So it's a very, very tangible opportunity for people here that people elsewhere don't have. And whether you're on the technology development side of that, or even if you're on the receiving side as a patient, I really think it's an asset that is worth recognizing. And then beyond that, close to 930 of those trials are active at a single institution at UAB, which really means you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm really sick. There's nothing else that I've worked. I've seen every doctor imaginable. and nothing is working. Can you help me? There is one place you can call here in Birmingham that can literally might have 930 opportunities for you to find a treatment. And then a lot of the beyond that, a lot of the work that we do at BBA through our research group is keep track of accolades, to look at industry publications or broadly at publications, and keep track of how our community is perceived and how we stack up against other communities based on information that other people generate, a story that we're not telling about ourselves, to get validation for it. And over the past year has been really exciting because Birmingham was announced by Two Think as one of the 35 or 35th U.S. innovation cities. Then another accolade that I think you guys might be interested in is 7 best state for entrepreneurship. So they looked at business friendliness, a lot of other indicators, and ranked our state 7th in the country. Then also in terms of access to smart people, to human capital, Forbes over the past year announced Metro Birmingham as the 6th best brain magnet in the nation. And again, this is not Steve saying this is not BBA saying this, these are all national publications that look at often hundreds and hundreds of communities and use standard indicators and then rank us. And either it's positive or it's negative, but a lot of these I think really go well for our community and for about some of the things that are going on. Innovation Depot, we've talked a little bit about. Over the past year, they were designated an international soft landing center by the NBIA, their leading trade organization. So that basically says that not only for Birmingham companies, but companies from all over the world, that NBIA, the National Trade Group, recommends out of 25 centers in the country, Innovation Depot is one of the 25 best places to move to if you're new to the U.S. So again, it's not only, I think, a resource for you, but it's a resource that is very well recognized and supported internationally. Then information technology, we've talked a little bit about. I'm sure a lot of you caught it, that if you look at the 750 technology companies, that over half of those, over 450, are information technology, or IT companies. So there was a report over the past year or so by the Association of Business Journals that really looked at the number of IT companies across the country, looked at 800 communities, and we ranked 39th out of 800. So one of the top 5% largest, if you look by the number of IT companies in our metro area. So again, if you're an IT entrepreneur, I can tell you with a fair degree of confidence that you're not alone, that you've got over 450 peers, other companies that you can tie into in some way, shape, or form and help you be successful. UAB, you've talked a little bit about, like in many different ways, they're best in class, they do extraordinarily well and are recognized as such, ranked very, very highly. And this not only means that the multiple dimensions clinical care is really good, but then also all of the research that goes on, and then more than anything, the human capital. Because at the end of the day, companies, especially the ones that many of you are involved in, are driven by people, are smart, motivated people. And motivated often, comes from an internal drive, but smart, to a large extent, is learned, is acquired, and just to have one of the leading institutions in the country in many, many fields where you can acquire that knowledge and be very, very well trained is, I think, one of the things that sets us apart and sort of the tools for success for our community. And then now the exciting part, resources for seed stage entrepreneurs. These are a couple of the opportunities that I wanted to run by you and that might present sort of an opportunity for you to take the next step and to maybe get some resources. And I hope the guy in the middle, I wasn't able to get the video, but at that point he was yelling, "Show me the money." I think that's how many of you feel quite often. So one really exciting sort of example that I want to give you for a resource for early stage entrepreneurs in Alabama is Alabama Launchpad. It's a statewide business plan competition that has 2 different tracks. One of them is proof of commercial relevance, and then the second track is seed ready. And for each of those tracks, for each of those rounds of the competition, they typically have $100,000 in prizes. And I'm telling you prizes because you're not really giving anything away at that point. Really what you're doing is you're presenting a business opportunity, and you can win up to $100,000 in non-dilutive capital to help you be successful as a grant. The only requirements are that you're a high-growth business, or that you're aiming to be a high-growth business, and that you're going to grow in Alabama. Some of the deliverables, so all of the application materials are online. There's a review room, this online document management system that you can get access to through alabamalaunchpad.com. And essentially what you submit are your application forms, business model canvas, a 3-minute video pitch, a proof of concept budget proposal, and a 10-page slide deck. And what might be interesting for you as well is for all of the Birmingham contestants, BBA, we run a mentoring and coaching program to help you be successful. We'll get you in touch with business mentors that can help you. We've got editorial support and graphic design support to help you with your slide deck, to help you with your business plan, and to help you be successful. And to just give you a little bit of a track record, in last year's competition, we produced winners, Birmingham produced winners in both the proof of concept track as well as the C track of the competition. And then this year, there's 5 companies in the finals, and 2 of those are Birmingham based as well. And then there's timing-wise, I think this event couldn't have been better because the next round of the competition just opened yesterday. Another great opportunity for you is that the ongoing round, proof of concept round, will finish by May 3rd. And their event where all of the pitches happen and where the finalists present at Evonik is going to be in Birmingham and is coming up as well. So if you're not 100% sure what this looks like or what the opportunity entails, is I highly recommend it's an open event that you go by Evonik on May 3rd and come listen to some of the finalists, some of the pitches. And then decide whether to apply or not, because the application is going to be open for a month. So it's April 22nd to May 22nd, I think, if I'm correct. But then all of the information you can find at alabamalaunchpad.com. And then once you apply, once you fill out the application, you should automatically get an invitation to our mentoring and coaching program that's called Spark. And then you're welcome to follow up with the workshops and with some of the resources through that. And then the different steps are presented here, what's involved. And then really the next opportunity that I wanted to run by you is these SBIRs and STTRs. It's a federal grant program exclusively reserved for small businesses. And essentially they support innovation for new and emerging technologies, but then also new applications for existing technologies, and then or major improvements in efficiency and effectiveness of technologies that are already out there. And then just to give you a sense of the size of the opportunity, each federal agency with a budget above $100 million, and all of the ones $100 million are listed here. It ranges from the Department of Defense with they have to all the way down to EPA. They have to spend 2.5% of their budget each year on these small business innovation research grants and contracts. And then there's another subset of the program called Small Business Technology Transfer Research, and that's typically oriented towards small businesses helping universities transfer their technologies from the university into small companies. So 2.5% they have to spend on SBIR, 0.3% they have to spend on STTR of whatever their budget is each year. And then there's just a new resolution that was passed. Each of those programs is going to grow. So from 2.5 to 3.2, and then STTR from 0.3 to 0.45. And that basically means the program right now is at about $2.5 billion a year between the different agencies. So depending on what the federal budget's going to do with the economic and sequestration, but it's highly likely that because of the resolution that total number is going to stay the same, if not grow over time. So I think this is a great time to look at SBR and STTR as an opportunity. It's essentially 2 phases. Phase 1 is proof of concept. Phase 2 is the development of your proof of concept. Talk to you a little bit about, this is in context what this opportunity really means. So if you look at, what I did was I put together all of the venture capital funding and all of the SBR and STTR funding by stages. So if you really look at seed stage, the earliest stage of development, about 60% of the total capital available is SBIR. And then over time, if you look at more developed, less risky businesses, then venture capital provides a lot of funding. But in the seed stage, SBR and STTR are very, very significant as a source of funding. And again, our state is very competitive, so we should be in better shape than most. Essentially, they pay for research, direct and indirect research. You can take a 7% fee, which is essentially your profit, which you can pay for things that are not research-based. So there's a phase 1, a proof of concept up to a year's worth of work. There's a phase 2, development of that proof of concept for up to 2 years worth of work. And then phase 3 is typically introduce your new product or your improved product to the market. And for that, you raise venture capital or other sources of funding. I'm just trying to walk you through. These are some of the timelines. Very important to keep in mind is that you can have gaps in some occasions. So you need to think very carefully about that because it's a federal program. There's a little bit of lag associated with it. And then pros and cons, more than anything, again, it's grant and contract, so you're not giving away any part of your business. The federal government invests in you to help grow our knowledge economy, help sustain high quality jobs. Some of the cons are is because it's a federal program, there's some lags and there's some bureaucracy and there's some review and audits associated with it. And then some very practical tips. There's 2 real big parts to the program. There's grants and there's contracts. Essentially, the contracts aim to solve specific problems the government has. For example, the DoD needs a faster water-to-land vehicle. They put out a contract, get somebody to develop it, do the research for them. Where grants is really you can propose your ideas. NSF, NIH only have grants available, and they have the audience come up with the topics. Some specific resources that you might want to look into for that. SBR.gov is a great single place to go and get all of the different topics, all of the different agencies, there's often events as well going on, workshops to help introduce you to the specific programs. You can find all of that there. Then another great place to look is TechNet. It's an SBA maintained database of all of the past funded awards. So if you type in some of the keywords associated with the idea or the company that you run, it's a great place to look for people that have been successful with similar ideas with similar companies in the past. And then here are some other ones. One that I specifically recommend is Zin.com. It's sort of the private version of SBR.gov. It's a little bit more easy to navigate in terms of finding specific solicitations and opportunities. But again, I think it's a real resource that is worth looking at for each of you. So I really hope this was of interest. I'll be sticking around for a while longer. Please run into me if you have any more questions. But I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. I can tell you, as a Birmingham native, to see a lot of these resources here that didn't used to be is a really encouraging sign. I'm very excited about that. I'm excited to have you in that position. So thanks so much.
Thank you.